I said we were going to actually live demonstrate this mission alignment process I was talking about. And we have a very generous guinea pig here, Stewart Wallis, who's the head of the New Economics Foundation. Some of you may know him, may have heard of him. And I was sharing this with him a while ago, and I rung him up after and said, look, how would you feel about having your personality and who you are kind of analysed in front of a group of 50 people? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So you were very, very, very willing and very open. And this process, I first met Nicholas and did this about 4 years ago. And some of the things he told me made a lot of sense. But some of them kind of at the time I didn't get at all, but I completely get it now. So he can actually look at things that you're not even aware of. And even at the time, it takes time and you sort of, oh yeah, I really get that now. So without further ado, I'm going to pass across to Nicholas. Stewart, do you want to come up and join Nicholas on the stage, so to speak?
Thank you, Andrew. So I'm going to give you a demonstration of mission alignment work. Okay, so a little bit about my background, so you know that I'm not sort of some sandaled hippie or anything doing this. I used to be in corporate finance in the city, in high-tech satellite communications. So I've gone from that to being in the alternative field, and now I'm sort of returning to combine the two bodies of knowledge to raise consciousness and help people align to their true mission in life. So the mission alignment work is designed at an individual level to align you with your true purpose in life. And we in short, basically we look at your name, and from that we can decode it using the system up here. I won't go into too much detail because we don't have time. But essentially we can get you down to what are your core challenges in life that you're facing, which we all have. What are the core qualities you have to overcome that? What are your primary drives? What are your main dreams in life? And because most people are not aligned to that, you get 87% of the population not particularly happy at work. I call them the grey people when I used to go on the tube into the city. And you've all seen that. And in becoming conscious of those 6 aspects here in both the physical and the spiritual realm of your life, if you consciously work through those, which is what this work is about, you access and can become aligned to your life purpose. And we all feel that someone hasn't told us something important in our life. Well, this is the answer here. And so in business, we use this work to align people to their true purpose in life, both at a personal level and a professional level. And then we can also use it to understand the hidden dynamics that run, for example, on a board. From the CEOs and chairmen I've worked with so far, I've managed to analyse the core issue that was gridlocking their entire company. So it's very powerful like that, this deep level of knowledge. So what we're going to do with Stewart is that we're going to find out what makes him tick, and we're going to find out where he wants to go next. Okay, so thank you for bearing your soul, Stewart. So you have a question for me. You have a very big question. So do you want to share that with everybody?
Yeah.
Then we'll start.
My question is, I'm stepping down from full-time work, and my latest job for the last 12 years, running the New Economics Foundation, I think economics think and do tank, but I've been working full-time for 45 years. I feel it's time to move to something else. I really want to explore what that other thing is, and particularly, am I crazy to think that stepping out of a very good organisation that's having more and more influence, that I can still play a key role in changing the economic system, because I believe fundamentally the current economic system we're in needs to change. We're living beyond planetary limits before we even talk about inequality, etc. And we can do much better. So I want to explore, A, whether I'm crazy, and B, how I might do this next stage of my life, because I'm certain there's something I've got to do. So I'm interested to explore that.
Okay, so Stewart and I have been through this process previously, so we're going to do a summary of who Stewart is first, and then we're going to answer that question, or what
and we did
next.
it fairly briefly, didn't we? I didn't quite pose that question before.
Yeah, well now you understood what this could do, now we can answer that question. So, on Stewart's chart here, his physical challenges, have you wanted to be of service to people? and community and humanity, Stewart?
Yes, I've felt that for certainly the last 30 or so years of my life, but even a bit as a child. I always felt that my role was to make a difference.
Yeah, well, this is both in your chart here in these physical challenges and in these physical qualities here. Okay, so this is saying that basically your main challenge is to use your more conscious, call it spiritual, intuitive flow of your life, spiritual intelligence, to actually serve the world. And do you find that gives you a lot of satisfaction in doing that, rather than just going out and making a pile of money like you used to do?
I used to make I had 6 dependents, and I was running a set of companies, but for various reasons it wasn't working quite right for me. And I took my salary down by 2/3 and swapped my nice Saab Turbo for a bicycle and went to work for Oxfam.
Okay,
And that was fairly mad with 7 of us to feed and look after.
Yeah, so
but it worked.
So Stewart was following his natural inclination, which was to serve humanity, serve people here. And his physical qualities here are designed, sort of latent in us initially, but in going to Oxfam, this brought out his need to serve, and this overcame his challenges here. So he's perfectly matched these two energies. Okay, so Stewart was on the right path. So what age were you when that started to happen?
Well, some of that happened early on because I went from London Business School to the World Bank, and then I went into business. And I went into business partly because I was a single parent with 2 very young kids to look after, and needed to be back in a more settled environment, not travelling the world. But even the World Bank had some sense of wanting to do more, but that became stronger and stronger during my time in business. So the point I actually moved from managing a set of businesses to Oxfam was when I was about 44, 45, that sort of age.
So the physical drives that Stewart has are here to access deep wisdom and leadership from within himself and to expand bodies of knowledge. Would that be the case that you stepped up to lead in your career?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I always seem to put myself forward and dive into the next challenge. And even the time, because in Oxfam, I was running Oxfam's programs, Oxfam Great Britain's programs around the world. So we had about 2,500 staff, lots of war zones, lots of struggles to go into. But I always had a belief that we could achieve a lot. But increasingly, even my time in Oxfam, I kept feeling that we were dealing with some of the symptoms and some of the underlying causes really needed tackling, which is why I went on then to the New Economics Foundation and managed that for the last 12 years.
So you learnt a lot about this in spiritual challenges. This is all about learning about the value of self-worth, but also the proper use of money. So you've been exploring that a lot in life.
Oh, huge amount, yeah. And the New Economics Foundation does lots of work on money, and on we're very much arguing that GDP is just a speedometer. It tells you whether you're going faster or slow. It doesn't tell you whether you're going in the right direction. And so very much what we're concerned with is how you increase human well-being and how you live in harmony with the planet. So money is then a means to an end. But interestingly, I think I've been much better at leading from the outside and having a go at things, but quite often I felt very uncertain inside. So this hasn't been just from inbuilt confidence. I'm actually, in some ways, quite a shy, introverted person, and I've sort of learned how to put myself out on a wider stage. But I'm somebody who suffers from a lot of doubt, even though I know. And oddly, I'm sort of can be unconfident on the outside, but actually going through the loss of somebody I loved, very young, to cancer, becoming a single parent, I've sort of got a toughness inside. So when it really comes out, I can go to that sort of inner steel. It's not steel in a nasty way, but I'm that funny mixture of lack of confidence, but when it really comes down to it, confidence that actually we can do the impossible.
Yeah, this is you stepping up to be a leader.
Yeah, but it sometimes feels very wobbly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's not like
normal.
this.
It's normal when you go through this. Yeah. So these spiritual qualities here are about building a body of new knowledge that's resonant to Stewart. And I'd say this is the New Economics Foundation building a new philosophy to replace the existing system, which, as we all know, is not working out there. So how's that been, building this new body of knowledge and being supportive of people in terms of getting it out to the world?
Fantastic, but not always easy financially. We're now 70 people, but the actual fun, thing that's kept me awake at night is raising the funds to keep 70 people who are actually challenging the system, because it's easy enough to raise funds for very practical things, but when you're saying something needs to be very different, that thinking around what the next system looks like, looking at the future, is quite difficult to raise funds for. And we've had to be very clever. We've had to be both a radical think tank and a successful consultancy at the same time. So it's trying to keep that balance. But the bit I don't understand is why now, when the time, if anything, as a think tank, our time has come. I've still got energy. It's why I feel driven now to step off into the deep ocean again. Well, and that's the bit I don't understand, and where I go next.
I think it's this new structure of knowledge. You're here to take it out into society at a greater level here. This is what this is saying. You're here to ground it, we'll use that term, make it accessible to people. And the product of doing all these things we just described is to empower others with this new structure of economic way of doing things in a different way.
Well, basically a different vision of how we want to live and a new story.
Yeah,
because I think we've got to create a new story about how we want to live on this planet. And at the minute, we're still stuck in the old story, and we've actually got to create that new story. It's not about going back to something, in my view. It's about finding that next thing. And that's where I'm interested in going. But I don't see myself as a great writer. I can be quite a good speaker, even though I find it nerve-wracking. But I feel the bit of me feels actually the time has come to write something. I don't know whether I can.
Well, so it's right here. This is about deep communication of a lot of wisdom you have as you feel better about coming out in the world. So there's definitely a writer in here, and this is going to a brand new structure. So let's find out what's the answer to Stewart's question. How are we going to do the next piece? This is the foundation of Stewart's life. So if we do the next slide, James, we're going to talk about what's he going to do with all this after 67 years. How is he going to actually fulfill the rest of his life purpose? Okay, so this is called an overlay chart. This is Stewart's birth chart that creates his life the way it is. And this is the current name he has. And this is going to answer that question. Okay, so what this is saying here fundamentally is that Stewart is going to continue to step up and lead in the world and expand bodies of knowledge, always rushing around trying to do too much. Yeah. I think I've talked to you about that.
Yes.
Go slow down, cut that to-do list in half.
Yes.
But be very...
My partner says more of that as well.
A third. And to be very focused in achieving his goals step by step. But the most important energy here is this 13-4. And this is about being more in the feminine, caring, looking energy of looking after the world, looking after the flow of nature, looking after the environment. This is about working from the heart, and this is here very much about setting clear intention of what you wish to share with the world, and then setting it out in the world and trusting that the flow of that will come. So you're going to take some risks when you do this.
Yes.
So it's going to take a lot of trust to do this, but there's no choice because you've already jumped off the cliff.
I have, yes.
Yeah, because you resigned.
I haven't actually resigned yet, but I haven't told them that, but I have. But we got my successor, so I have to resign.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do that to them.
Yeah. So, and this 15 and the 6 here, this means that Stewart's spending a lot of time in his life trying out lots of different things to work out, well, where am I going to go next with this? So the key with this here is not to sort of think about it too much. This is indicating that you've got to go out and try a few things on, a few new things on to see how it feels. What does your gut tell you? And when you feel comfortable, you'll find the right thing. So you've got to actually go and try it on as a trial. You can't think your way through this. It's not a left-brain analytical process for you. And this 18.9 here is saying that Stewart's here to project manage, make the hard decisions, and to have the power to carry out those hard decisions and make projects happen and complete them. So I'd say it's going to be a project-based type post-NEF career. Okay, do one project, take a break, because you'll probably take a while to learn to not do too much, and then the next project will come along. But very much leading these projects here, being a speaker, a writer, getting the message out there. And each time you do that, you overcome that shyness. Yeah. But in the end, it will be about taking care of the world sustainably from the heart. That's basically what this is indicating to me, this chart. So how does all that sound to you as a future? Because you asked me, well, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And
I did ask you that.
Big question. So
but it sounds like it's saying that actually, I don't know the exact route, but I've still got quite a role to play in using my experience and what I've learned, and I've always seen myself as there's an expression I grew up with when I was a teenager by an early systems thinker saying, in these days where the rich in knowledge eat such specialized diets from such separate tables, only dogs scavenging under the tables have a balanced diet. And I've always felt that it's really important to learn from many different tables. And so I think it was encouraging me to feel, actually, I've got a role. I'm not mad to think that I can still play a role in changing the economic system, because it sounds so hubristic. It can sound so sort of overblown. But on the other hand, somebody's got to do it, and I've been blessed with seeing many different sides of this. So I feel I've still got something to contribute. And therefore, probably I'm not destined just to sit down in my beautiful place in North Devon and meditate and things like that. That's going to be a bit of it, but it won't be the whole. So, and that feels
right.
It feels right.
Yeah.
And it feels scary, because it'd be much easier just to retire. And
the key for you is to actually be very clear in your heart what you feel is right.
Yeah.
And allow it to come to you.
Yeah.
This is not the normal business approach of chasing opportunities. When it comes back, this is just allowing it to come, and when it comes, it'll naturally self-filter.
And certain things have already come, slightly unexpectedly.
And they're the ones you have to accept unconditionally.
Yeah.
Because they'll naturally get filtered out the things you're not meant to do. If you chase uplink with this sort of chart, it means that it won't work.
Yeah. Because the one thing I chased was becoming a trustee of Oxfam.
Yeah, and what happened there?
It didn't work. And
just allowed.
And I realised why it didn't work, because it was going back.
Yeah.
Okay, was going back in a different. And I really, because I've been a trustee of a lot of organisations, I got lots of management experience, but I actually don't want to run an organisation. I don't even want to be a trustee there. I want to help, I want to inspire and lead in a different way. So it feels like that's really where I am now.
Yeah.
And so I do think there's probably a book in me, even though I'm a useless writer in my view.
It's just practice.
Yeah.
Those who think that I'm not so good, from my own experience, I barely passed English exams, but now I write best-selling books.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why you can't.
No, it's practice like everything else, isn't it? And it's speaking from the heart, isn't it?
It is.
It's saying what I really believe. And yeah, and this feels good as well.
Feels good?
Yeah. It feels like what my heart's telling me is where I need to go.
Yeah. And thank you.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. So what happens here is that if you align to the personal flow which we can decode here, life opens and flows. If we stay on our left brain analytical side, I used to be like this, trying to work out how to spend hundreds of millions of dollars of other people's money. You don't flow with the heart, and life gets very hard and challenging. So if we individually flow with what's in the mission alignment work, both individually, and if we actually work out how the dynamics, which is the really exciting part of this, between, say, different board members, which I've done a lot of work on, and if we all go with our natural flow and rearrange ourselves to go to our natural flow and harmonise in our relationships, then that energy in the company from the top down completely changes it. Because people aren't fighting each other. People aren't doing things they don't like doing. And this gives us the actual realistic map for getting to where we want. And this is the power of this work. And then we pass that on to the alignment coaching and work which Eudora does to actually put that whole thing into action. When my first real use of this was a property development company, and they went from 2 to 18 staff in 18 months, and they actually went, in the last 6 months, they increased their profit by 125%. Wow. Because everyone got aligned, and the two partners, or one of the main partner, he said, every week someone comes up to me and says, I love my job, thank you for hiring me. And they can't actually keep up with the demand because the harmonious flow is creating an enormous change in their business. Their issue now is it's expanding too fast. So I'm having to coach them to slow down because they all got an alignment.
Yeah.
So thank you, Stewart, for sharing.
Well, pleasure. Thank you. And perhaps it'd be nice to sort of, there's other questions and things, perhaps have a further discussion outside this, because thank you. That's really great, though. Thanks, then.
Good. Thank you.
Stewart, before you sit down, back to your seat. So how did that feel? How accurate did that feel? The previous discussion you had with Nicholas last week and this.
Oh, very accurate.
Yeah.
But I'm still absorbing some of it.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that resonates with me, I don't understand the symbols fully, but this feels like it's sort of got me, and that does feel right. And for me, certainly, the idea of actually opening to what comes. Now, obviously, I create some of those things, and you've got to have the right judgment which you take and things. But that feels very right now for what I need to do.
Yeah.
And just even since we talked, a couple of things have come out of the air that I wasn't expecting. Like a visiting professorship as actually an outfit that's really interesting, for example. Things like that, and being a trustee of not of an organisation, but of an area of knowledge that the World Economic Forum's taking forward. Things like that just seem to be popping out of the air. And I'm going for the things that interest me and feel right, I can do something with. And some of them will work, some of them won't. I know some will crash, but that doesn't matter, I think. So this feels right. This feels like it's really got who I am. And I'm very impressed. I don't understand it, but I'm very impressed.
Well, it's this thing of when you're in your natural flow, then amazing things happen.
Yeah.
And it's, you could say they're random, but they're not random, because everybody who gets in that flow, it happens. So
no, I don't think these things, you can argue all this question about how much is destiny, etc., but it always feels to me that the issue in life, you can't necessarily control some of the things that happen to you, like, losing my wife at 32, and being a single parent. I raged at the world for a year or so, and I suddenly realised actually I probably can't control those things, but I can control how I react to it. And that little bit of wisdom of actually saying what I can do is how I react to things, what choices I make, how I approach it. And that gave me huge amounts of power, and that stayed with me and enabled me to do all sorts of things since. So this feels very powerful.
Okay, look, thank you. Thanks again. Thank you.